100,000 years ago, a Jewish caveman walked up to this long stone slab, and using a sharp rock in his right hand, he carved the world's first joke. A Neanderthal goes into a psychiatrist's office. He says, "Doctor, nobody will talk to me." The psychiatrist says, "Next." That's about as funny as it got during the Ice Ages. But over the next 100,000 years, this sense of humor became a part of the Jewish people. I mean, when a Jewish baby is born, the doctor slaps the baby. The baby stands up, and they hand it a microphone. It's good to be here. Dr. Vogt, you did a hell of a job. Mama, I know that was a difficult delivery, so sue me. It's not just a sense of humor that makes the Jewish people unique. I mean, the Jewish people even have their own language, Yiddish. And Yiddish words are supposed to sound like what they are. And these words can get very specific. I mean, the Jewish people have two different words for two different types of losers in life. Schlemiel and Schlemazel. Now, Schlemiel sounds like a loser. What a Schlemiel he is. And Schlemazel sounds like a different kind of loser. That poor Schlemazel. I wonder what happened to him. What's the difference? Well, a Schlemiel is a guy sitting at a lunch counter who accidentally spills his bowl of soup into the lap of the guy sitting next to him. The Schlemazel is the guy who gets the soup spilled on him. Both losers, subtly different. Now, the Jewish people are very communal, and they're very congregational. They like to live in the same neighborhoods, and they like to marry other Jewish people, and they like to join Jewish organizations. And that's why they designed several words to describe people who are not Jewish. And I don't think it's any secret to this group that one single solitary person who is not Jewish is called a goy. And several non-Jewish people in a group are called goyim. As in, what are you going to do? They're goyim. Jaime, can you believe the food they're serving here at this wedding reception? Meatballs and sausage. What are you going to do? They're goyim. Mona, I can't believe the tacky furniture. They just moved into that house over there. What are you going to do? They're goyim. Well, there's a particular type of goyim that strikes fear into the heart of every Jewish mother around the world. And that is the non-Jewish single female. Because Jewish mothers want those non-Jewish single females to stay away from their single Jewish sons. So they had to design a word for these women that sounded really awful. Shiksa! She's a shiksa! What are you gonna do? Date a shiksa? What are you gonna do? Marry a shiksa? So you grew up thinking, boy, shiksa, that sounds really bad. I better stay away from those. And that was the idea, of course. When I was growing up, my mother used to say to me, if you marry a shiksa, you're going to end up just like your friend, Sheldon Slobodnik. I'd say, Sheldon Slobodnik is happy and content. She said, that's right. Is that any way to live? The first time I brought home a shiksa, I have to admit, my mother took it pretty well. She opened up a walk-in freezer and went in for a month. I gave this same speech last week at the Country House Inn to a Gentile audience, and after it was over, this woman in her 70s, she was about this tall, came up to me and she was real happy, and she comes up and she said, I'm a shiksa. What am I supposed to say? I mean, I'm very sorry. When you're single, like I am, Jewish people want to help cure you of that disease. I went over to my parents' house recently. My father said to me, Steve, I have the woman for you. I said, how homely is she? He said, her father is loaded. He owns a chain of hardware stores across the United States. I said, how homely is she? He said, on her birthday, her father gave her a brand new BMW. I said, how homely is she? And my father said, Steve, sit down a minute. I want to talk to you about your values. You know, looks come and go, but BMWs hold their value for years. I spoke to this group last year and I had a great time, and after the speech I was standing in the audience talking to some people, and I look over and there's a wonderful little Jewish lady going like this. I said, she said, yeah. So I walk over and she said, do you mind if I ask you a question? I said, no. She said, are you married? I said, no. She said, I have a riddle for you, and if you can answer this riddle, I'll get you a date with the most wonderful Jewish girl you have ever met in your entire life. I said, who is it? She said, my daughter. She said, are you ready for the riddle? I said, go ahead. She said, what state in the South begins with an A, has an A in the middle, and ends with an A? I said, Connecticut. She said, what? I said, Connecticut, is that right? She said, no. Well, what do you say? You want to date with my daughter? I said, I didn't answer the riddle right. She said, oh, riddles are for kids. My daughter is for you. You know, I like it here at the Briar Cliff. It's an interesting place. I don't know if you know this, but there are Jewish people in this building. I had some trouble coming in the parking lot tonight because they were unloading this tank car of sour cream into the building. There were big hoses. When I came here last year to visit a friend, and I walked in the front door, and I went up to the row of buzzers, and I pressed Goldberg, and 27 people came on the intercom all at the same time. That was really tough. My mother likes to come to the Briar Cliff, and my mother goes to a lot of different places during the day. And I thought about it, and it occurred to me recently that my mother was put on the earth to help sick people. Now, most of you know my mother, Harriet Ozer. That was why she was put on the earth to help sick people. My mother knows more sick people than the Blue Cross has subscribers. You know, and I'm convinced that some people get sick just so my mother can take care of them. You know, to tell you the truth. But what's strange is that my mother can be anywhere in the world and walk by a hospital. She doesn't have to even go in. Anywhere in the world, just walk by a hospital and somebody will throw up in a window and go, Harriet! Harriet! I won't be at the synagogue this week. My mother would be like, Mona, is that you? Harriet, yes. Mona, is there anything I can do for you? Well, Harriet, I'll tell you. I get out of here next Wednesday. What do you say you take me to the hairdresser? My mother has taken more people to the hairdresser than there are hairdressers. I mean, last year, the National Hairdressers Association gave my mother their annual transportation award. A big ceremony, she got a big trophy. My mother is a very good cook, and one of the things is she doesn't like to have the traditional Jewish food, a lot of it around in the kitchen, because Jewish people eat the all-cholesterol diet. That's the blintzes and the sour cream, and the potato latkes and the sour cream, and the sour tomatoes and the sour cream and the sour and everything is sour. And this is a diet that would kill Gentiles. The Jewish people have developed an immunity to it over the years. But in my parents' house, there's none of that high cholesterol and high fat stuff. If you go over there to eat, there's nothing real in the refrigerator. I mean, there's imitation mayonnaise, there's low-cal soda, there's diet powdered sherbet, there's instant low-fat, low-sodium, low-cal, dehydrated water. That's for dessert. I mean, it's strange, but my mother does make one dish that has real ingredients in it. It's called simus. I don't know what simus is for. I don't think people eat it for entertainment. Simus really is the Yiddish word for punishment. When I was growing up, if I accidentally, when I was a young kid, and I accidentally said, damn, or something like that, my mother would say, Ted, wash his mouth out with simus. And it was scary, and I never knew exactly what was in simus until I grew up and I got older. And when my mother wasn't looking, I took a sample of simus into where I work at Roman Haas, and I put it under a microscope just to see what was actually in it. And as far as I can tell, it's stewed carrots and honey and little bits of aluminum siding and peat moss. And it tastes lousy, but it's very useful when it hardens. We sell it up in the Northeast as a roofing material, and it works out really well. I'll tell you, I had a lot of fun here tonight, and before I go, I'd like to leave you with just one little thought. In this world full of schlemiels, schlemazels, shiksas, zivis, life can be very trying. And 100,000 years ago, when that Jewish caveman wrote that first joke, he gathered all his fellow cavemen together in front of him, and trembling with anticipation, he read them the joke, and nobody laughed. And he picked up the rock, and he carved at the bottom of the stone slab, "What are you going to do? They're goyim." Thank you.